So welcome to Jumbo IS and welcome to our lecture series called Daily News in Shorts. In this lecture series, we cover a particular day's current affairs in a short span of time. Now, needless to say this, just watching this lecture would be job half done, because just after watching it, you have to revise it as well. Because if you don't revise these current affairs and just watch the lecture, well, these current affairs would quickly skip your memory. You won't be able to solidify them in your memory. Therefore, revision is very important. Now, you can revise these current affairs from the notes provided by us, and these notes shall be shared on our Telegram channel. The link to our Telegram channel is provided in the comment section just below this video. Okay? Alright then. Enough of the introduction. Let's straight away jump into the lecture. So, Daily Current Affairs, 26th of November, Wednesday, and here is the list of topics that we shall cover today. Number one on this list is 1983 Nellie Massacre that occurred in the state of Assam, and it is one of the most brutal massacres where a lot of people died in post-independent India. Okay, it was one of the brutal massacres. So we'll talk about this massacre because it will help us understand the tense political situation in Assam. All right. Then the second topic is related to Indo-China Arunachal controversy. Well, you must have heard about this, that there was a girl from Arunachal Pradesh who was held at Shanghai airport. Why? Because when they verified her address, it was written Arunachal Pradesh, but China does not recognize Arunachal Pradesh. China calls it a disputed territory that India has illegally occupied. And because of that, they said that this girl's address is not valid. So we'll talk about the Arunachal Pradesh disputed territory or the controversy. Okay. Then we'll talk about POSHAN Tracker. POSHAN Tracker is basically a nutrition monitoring program, and there are certain myths about it. So we'll talk about this. And in the end, we'll again revisit the volcanic ash. We will again try to understand how volcanic ash impacts aircrafts. We discussed this volcanic ash in the previous lecture. So we are going to revisit it because some new information came out. Okay, so these are the four topics. Topic number one is related to, well, history portion of your UPSC syllabus, especially post-independent India's history. Then topic number two is related to international relations portion of UPSC syllabus. Topic number three is policy and governance. And topic number four is, well, environment, geography portion of your UPSC syllabus. Okay, so these are the four topics. Let's start discussing them one by one, starting with topic number one, and that is 1983 Nellie Massacre. Okay, so you need to have a bit of background. You see, this massacre occurred in 1983, okay? And, well, two commissions were appointed to inquire into this massacre. Now, one was the official commission, the Tiwari Commission, and the other was an unofficial commission, Mehta Commission. 42 years after this massacre, well, the two reports have come out, and that is why this massacre was in the news. Now, what is the background of this massacre? Post-1971 war, the Bangladesh Liberation War between India and Pakistan, well, there were many Bangladeshi migrants who came illegally to India, and many of them went to Assam. Now, in the state of Assam, the locals were not happy with this. They saw so many Bengali-speaking Muslims entering their state and changing the demographics of the state, acquiring land, changing the culture, their perceived culture, because of this illegal migration. So there was a huge students' movement, Assam agitation movement that went on till 1985. Now back then, in 1983, Assam's elections were due. Many political parties and political leaders boycotted those elections. They said, until the Assam problem, illegal Bangladesh problem is sorted, we will boycott the elections. But still elections were conducted. And in those elections, well, certain locals attacked Bengali-speaking migrant population, and many Bengali-speaking migrant population died. Bengali-speaking, when I say Bengali-speaking, well, allegedly Bangladeshi immigrants, which the Assam people were objecting to, their entry they were objecting to. Now, this was one of the deadliest massacres, okay, in post-independent India. Now, the two commissions have submitted their report. So that is why this news item is dominating the news. So through this topic, we will basically try to understand what was the background, the historical background, and what happened when this agitation ended. So we'll talk about this entire thing because this gives us knowledge about India's past, especially the northeastern past. Okay, so pay close attention. So 1983 Nellie Massacre. So what was in the news? Nellie Massacre in 1983 was a major incident of mass violence in Assam during contentious assembly elections held under President's rule. Back then, President's rule was also kept on Assam. Two inquiry reports, Tiwari Commission and unofficial Mehta Commission, offer different perspectives. Okay, Tiwari Commission says something else, Mehta Commission says something entirely different. So we'll talk about the results of these two commissions, but first let's talk about this agitation, this problem, or the reason behind the occurrence of this massacre. Okay, so background. So Assam agitation 1979 to 1985 sought the deportation of illegal Bangladeshi immigrants and led to widespread politico-social unrest. Okay, very widespread. There were protests, there were violence also, there was violence. So it was a big deal for Northeast India. The controversial decision to hold Assam Assembly elections in 1983, despite boycott calls by leaders like ASU and AAGSP. Now, ASU was a students' union, okay? All Assam Students' Union. All Assam Students' Union was leading these protests against Bangladeshi migrants, and All Assam Gan Sangram Parishad. Okay, the full form is given in the notes. All Assam Gan Sangram Parishad, AAGSP. These leaders boycotted the elections. Clear-cut boycotted the elections, but still elections were held. So this is a problematic situation. Then, well, something triggered, and a particular tribal group, along with other local tribals of Assam, they attacked various villages of these illegal Bangladeshi migrants, leading to, well, lives of 2,000 to 3,000 people, mostly Bengali-speaking Muslims, from 14 villages, including Nellie. The violence was primarily perpetrated by Tiva, Lalung tribal groups targeting immigrant Bengali Muslims. So this was the situation. Now these two reports came out, and both these reports are giving conflicting opinions as to the reason behind this conflict. Where does the blame lie? Okay, so the official Tiwari Commission says that the blame does not lie with central government, or the blame does not lie with holding of elections. Many people are saying that the government held elections and that is why these students became angry. The Tiwari Commission, the official commission, says, no, that was not the reason. Well, they said that there were already some underlying insecurities with respect to foreigners and language, Assami language. There were already social unrest brewing up. So even if you wouldn't have conducted elections, this would have happened. So this commission's report does not put blame on the holding of elections. Elections were immaterial. It held agitation leaders mainly responsible for violence, listing organized arson, riot, sabotage, intimidation, picketing, everything. Plus, it also pointed out failure of police and intelligence machinery. And why? Well, the thing is that people in police, well, police and intelligence, well, these two departments are also composed of people, and people are local Assamese people. They also want illegal Bangladeshi migrants to get out. So would they side with the government, or their personal loyalties lie with ASU? Because of this, there was intelligence failure. Okay, because the people managing the intelligence had personal loyalties towards the Assam cause. This was highlighted in Tiwari Commission. But Mehta Commission says otherwise. Mehta Commission says that the problem was that you held elections. Elections triggered the entire chain of events. These agitators became extremely angry, and in that angered mode, well, they perpetrated all the violence. Okay. The Mehta report argued that Congress-led center sought electoral advantage despite boycott by agitation leaders. Mehta Commission report says that back then Congress was in power, and Congress thought that all these political leaders are boycotting the elections. So it is a very good opportunity for us to win so many seats in Assam. So they went ahead with elections. So the fault lies with the central government, state government, and Election Commission of India, because it is the job of Election Commission of India to conduct free and fair elections in a safe and secure environment. But that was not there. But there is also one point where both these reports agree. Both reports underscore demographic anxieties. Both reports say that local Assamese people were really unhappy about this. They had anxieties that their culture would be lost by this illegal migration, with significant fear among Assamese of being overwhelmed by migrants and foreigners. Okay. Now, I told you that this Assam agitation Well, the period was 1979 to 85. So why did this agitation end? Okay, how did it end? So conclusion of Assam agitation, eventually central government had to sign an agreement with ASU and AAGSP. This is known as the Assam Accord of 1985. Under this accord, most of their demands were accepted by the central government. In return, these people would stop their agitation. Okay, so the demands that were accepted by the government was foreigners who came to Assam before 1979 were to be detected and deported. Safeguards for social, cultural, and political rights of Assamese people, that was given. And ASU and AAGSP had to give up their agitation. Now, once they gave up their agitation, this students' union dissolved, this AAGSP dissolved, and the leaders in these two organizations formed their own political party called Assam Gana Parishad, which fought elections and won also. Okay, so this was the conclusion. But the problem still persists. Many political leaders in Assam still say that this job, this promise that the central government made in the Assam Accord is yet to be implemented. Still in Assam, there are so many illegal Bangladeshi migrants. So this is the entire issue. Now let's move on to next news item, which is India-China Arunachal controversy. So why has this controversy, well, popped up out of nowhere? Well, you should know that China claims Arunachal Pradesh to be its own territory, because China claims that Tibet is China's territory and Arunachal Pradesh is southern Tibet. So by that extension, well, Arunachal Pradesh belongs to China. That is the claim of China. Okay, the entire Tibet belongs to them, including southern Tibet, which is Arunachal Pradesh. But India says that Arunachal Pradesh is an inalienable part of India. It is an inalienable part of India. Now, both sides will not budge on this issue. For us, Arunachal Pradesh is very important, but China keeps on bringing this issue up, that Arunachal Pradesh belongs to us, and they do this to irritate us. Now, recently, they have done something very nasty to irritate us. And that was, well, there was a UK-based resident whose hometown was in Arunachal Pradesh. Okay, so she was traveling somewhere internationally, and her halt was in, or stoppage was in Shanghai in China. Now, over there, well, the security personnel brought her out. Okay, they brought her to the sides and detained her for more than 10 hours. And the reason they gave for her detention was, they said that we want to verify your identity. For that, we need to take a look at your home address. Your home address says that you live in this area, Arunachal Pradesh. But we as Chinese don't recognize that there is such a place called Arunachal Pradesh. There is southern Tibet or nothing at all. So we don't recognize this place called Arunachal Pradesh. So, well, your address verification doesn't match out, and therefore we have to verify further. For this reason, they harassed that passenger. Now, this became a huge news. India registered a protest for this, okay? And China replied back saying that we do not recognize Arunachal Pradesh, so this was all valid. So India hit back saying that Arunachal Pradesh is an inalienable part of India. Yes, so this controversy came up again. But for you UPSC aspirants, you need to be aware of this territorial dispute, the background of this territorial dispute. Why is there a territorial dispute in India's northeast involving Arunachal Pradesh? Okay, so let's try to understand the background of this entire thing. All right, so Indo-China Arunachal controversy. So what was in the news? As China denied allegations that an Indian woman from Arunachal Pradesh was harassed at Shanghai airport recently and said it does not recognize the state illegally established by India. India asserted that Arunachal Pradesh is an integral and inalienable part of India, and no amount of denial by Chinese side is going to change this undisputed reality. Now, to understand why China claims Arunachal Pradesh, let's take a look at the map. Okay, now look over here. This is China, okay, this is India, and this is Tibet. Okay, now at one point of time, Tibet was an independent country who accepted the suzerainty or overlordship of Chinese emperor. Back in 19th century, China had its own emperor and Tibet had its own emperor, but the Tibetan emperor accepted the overlordship, that Tibet is independent. But yes, we accept that Chinese emperor is superior to us. We accept your suzerainty, not sovereignty, suzerainty, that you are our overlords. Clear? Then, well, in 1914, there was an agreement between British India and Tibet. This agreement took place in Shimla, that is why it is known as Shimla Agreement. Okay. In this agreement, both sides decided a boundary line between the two. Okay. That line was called the McMahon line. As per this line, well, Arunachal Pradesh fell into British India and that was the boundary. Okay. Simple. Now in 1947, British left India and India or Indians inherited this thing. All the territories that were negotiated by the Britishers, well, were inherited by the independent India's government. Okay. So we accepted McMahon line. But China retaliated. China said that, well, since Tibet was under our overlordship, so the Shimla Agreement should have been signed between British India and China, not Tibet. Tibet had no authority to settle boundary disputes independently. They had to take our permission. Therefore, we do not recognize McMahon line. Okay? And then in 1950, China occupied Tibet. Okay? And said that Tibet is part of China. Okay, Tibet Autonomous Region is now part of China. Now, China claimed that we occupied Tibet and the entire Tibet belongs to us, which includes this southern Tibet. China calls it southern Tibet, which came to India after establishment of McMahon line. So China says that this is southern Tibet and it belongs to us. Well, India says that legally speaking, as per our agreement, well, the line that should be accepted between us as the boundary is the McMahon line. And this is no southern Tibet, this is Arunachal Pradesh. That's the dispute. Both sides fought on this dispute. There was this boundary dispute. There is this Arunachal Pradesh dispute in the eastern sector. And in the western sector, India said that this yellow portion belonged to the state of Jammu and Kashmir. It belongs to us. China calls it Aksai Chin. China says that this belongs to our Xinjiang province. Both sides went to war because of these boundary disputes. Okay, China occupied Aksai Chin and is still the occupier. Okay, China also came into Arunachal Pradesh, then went back and declared unilateral ceasefire. So Arunachal Pradesh is still with us. Now, every now and then to irritate India, China brings up this issue saying this is southern Tibet. This is not Arunachal. And this recent incident is just one among many irritants that China has put in front of us. Okay, so this is the background. I hope you understood the entire issue with the help of this map. Okay. And now let's quickly shift our focus to third news item, and that is POSHAN Tracker. Okay. So the thing is that Government of India back in 2018 launched POSHAN Abhiyan. As per that POSHAN Abhiyan, government wanted to take care of nutritional security of children between the age of 0 to 6, of adolescent girls, teenage girls, of pregnant and lactating mothers. These three categories of people, well, government wanted to ensure nutritional security for them, because if these three categories of people, their nutrition levels are not up to the mark, well, it has an impact on the entire population. If mothers are not healthy, children won't be healthy. Yes. So through POSHAN Abhiyan, government ensures nutritional security. Remember, not food security, nutritional security. Every nutrient counts. Nutritional security of these three categories of people. Now, as per the past experience of the government has said that when we plan a scheme, everything looks good on the paper. But when we get to implement it, there are so many problems. The implementation is a problem. Planning of a scheme is not a problem. It looks good on paper. But the implementation is done by officers and government employees and at the lower level. And their inefficiencies lie. So to make sure that the scheme is implemented as it was written on the paper, okay, government launched a Digital India initiative, an e-governance initiative that was called POSHAN Tracker. It was an app through which government will ensure whether this scheme is being implemented properly or not. Now, this POSHAN Tracker, an e-governance initiative, was launched in 2021. Now, recently, in this initiative, government added certain features that every beneficiary has to do e-KYC. They have to give their photographs, Aadhaar card, their verification. This And then government included facial recognition software to identify whether the person matches the same photo on Aadhaar card or anything else. Now, people are having anxieties with this. There are so many myths that have been created with respect to POSHAN Tracker, that government is collecting our data. That's natural also. Now, when a government employee comes and clicks your photo, you get a little nervous. This nervousness has created so many myths about POSHAN Tracker. And that is why many beneficiaries and even Anganwadi workers are not properly implementing the scheme or cooperating with the government. Therefore, it is the need of the hour to bust these myths, okay, to do away with these myths and give the truth to the people. So this was the purpose of this article. Therefore, we will talk about this article as well as we'll talk about POSHAN Tracker. All right, so let's begin. So POSHAN Tracker. So the POSHAN Tracker has been in the public conversation and not always for the right reasons. Myths and half-truths about e-KYC and facial recognition system have led to confusion among all citizens and Anganwadi workers. Now, POSHAN Tracker was launched in 2021 by Ministry of Women and Child Development. POSHAN Abhiyan is also Ministry of Women and Child Development. Remember the name of the ministry. Now, and again, I told you, this is for nutritional security of those three categories of people. By the way, details about POSHAN Abhiyan are given in your notes, so do check that out. We'll, in this lecture, focus on POSHAN Tracker. Now, about POSHAN Tracker. So, a nutrition monitoring system that connects 1.4 million Anganwadi centers and monitors the nutritional status and service delivery for more than 88 million women, children, and adolescent girls. Now, under this, well, the digital initiatives to make this POSHAN Tracker more effective, well, e-KYC was made mandatory. E-KYC is a one-time digital verification of beneficiaries. Beneficiaries, the women, the adolescent girls, one-time verification via Aadhaar, OTP authentication on the POSHAN Tracker app. And this would be done by Anganwadi workers. They would have the phone with them and they would verify. Click the picture of your Aadhaar card, take your photo. The facial recognition system ensures correct beneficiary receive take-home rations. Okay, take-home rations, you can take the ration from the ration shop to your home for nutritional security. So facial recognition software is important. Why? What instructions are given to Anganwadi workers? Well, Anganwadi workers are told that whenever someone comes to receive ration from the ration shop, you have to click a picture that this person is receiving the ration. Okay? Then the government will match, using this facial recognition system software, the photo of the person who is taking home the ration and the database that the government has of beneficiaries. If the photo on Aadhaar card and this person who is taking the ration does not match, then there is a problem. So for more efficiency, facial recognition system was added. Beneficiaries do not need smartphones. Verification is carried out by Anganwadi workers using POSHAN Tracker app. So this was the situation. Okay. Now, what are the common myths surrounding all of this? Now, this is a problem area. The common myths are, well, e-KYC is a repeatable process. People think that e-KYC is not one time, it has to be done every month. This is not true. They are nervous about facial recognition of kids, but government has made it clear facial recognition of children in this age bracket is not allowed. So people are nervous. People say facial recognition will be done for kids also. That is problem. Plus kids change their features also as they grow up. This is a problem. Then many people are not happy because they do not trust the government to handle their personal data. But personal data is being stored in a secured fashion using encryption algorithms. Okay. Plus, people think that the system, government system cannot handle such huge data, so many millions of people. Well, government already is handling such huge data, photographs, Aadhaar, everything. So these common myths need to be busted. Okay. And what should be the way forward? Well, counter misinformation with accurate facts, improve usability of this app through feedback from Anganwadi workers, what problems they are facing. So as to improve the app. Streamlining service delivery processes to reduce time burdens. Okay. Investing in digital literacy. Increase the digital literacy of Anganwadi workers so that they are better equipped to manage this POSHAN Tracker app. Make sense? That would be all. And now let's quickly shift our focus to last news item of the day. We have already discussed about the volcanic eruption in Ethiopia, and we all know that that volcanic eruption emitted a lot of volcanic ash, which has impacted commercial aviation operations. Now we'll get a little deeper into this area, how volcanic ash, impact of volcanic ash on aircrafts. Okay, So let's quickly begin this. So impact of volcanic ash on aircrafts. So Haile Gabi volcano in Ethiopia erupted on November 25, marking its first eruption. We all know about this in 12,000 years. It emitted volcanic ash reaching up to 14 kilometers into the sky, which drifted over countries, Yemen, Oman, Pakistan, parts of India, and now is even going to China. Okay. Now, this is not harming the humans because, well, this volcanic ash is high in the air, 14 kilometers altitude, but it is hampering air operations. Now, how does the particles in this volcanic ash impact air operations? You need to know the specifics, okay? How these particles harm the engine of the aircraft or anything else. Okay, so let's quickly talk about this. So, risk to aviation. Number one, abrasion and clogging. Volcanic ash is highly abrasive and corrosive also, and can clog the aircraft sensors, diffuse them, impair pneumatics, the aviation controls, obscure cockpit windscreen also, so the pilots cannot see. Okay, so this is a problem. Then harms jet engine. Ash damages jet engines by melting into molten glass inside a combustion chambers, coating turbine blades and causing engine flame out or shut down. Sometimes the engine also gets shut. Then cabin air. Well, the air that the pilots, the air hostesses, the passengers are breathing, that also becomes toxic because volcanic ash also contains toxic gases. Well, that would enter the cabin air atmosphere and cause problems. And then mid-air adjustment. Sometimes the engine shuts down. So the pilot has to do a mid-air glide, shut off the engine. Once the engine cools down, then he restarts the plane. Now that is done by a trained pilot. That can create problems. Okay, so these are the problems. Clear? By the way, because of this volcanic ash, past accidents have happened. British Airways in 1982, KLM Boeing 747 in 1989, American Airlines. Okay. Now, when such a thing happens, like it happened in Ethiopia recently, what was the job of government? How did the government support airlines? First of all, DGCA, Director General of Civil Aviation, issued advisory to avoid those routes from where this volcanic ash is passing. Then, well, DGCA also advised all these flights to conduct post-flight inspections. Whether some particles entered their engine, they should check it. So all these things were done by the government, very minor, okay? But just remember these four things, impacts on aircrafts. All right? That would be all. With that, we conclude today's session. So thank you so much for watching, everyone. And I'm sure it has added value to your preparation. But it will add more value if you're consistent and regular with this lecture series and you revise it from the notes that we have sent you on our Telegram channel. So in the hope that you'll do that, I shall see you next time with another set of news items. Thank you, everyone.